not when and where I want them to. You familiar with the town? Yeah, my father grew up there. He'd take us back there to see what family he had left. It used to be a dump. Now it's a poor man's Hamptons, overrun with weekenders, real estate speculators, Guidos, and religious Jews. He slapped the table. I knew you were the man for me. Not so fast, Goldblatt. Truth is, it turns my stomach to go out there. I'm not a man who likes change. And as for nostalgia, that ain't my thing. Do I detect the hint of a beating heart, Swann? Not unless you got a stethoscope hidden under your napkin covering that growing-by-the-minute belly of yours. I need to know what I'm getting into, and for how much. What's the difference? You take the train out there, you pick up the package, you take the train back, and you give it to me. Simple as that. Do you think I'm stupid? Why would I think that? Because didn't you think I'd ask you why you can't do it? A man like you, Goldblatt, 4 years of college, 3 years of law school, assuming, of course, you actually got through law school, knows how to figure out a train schedule. There are reasons. Give 'em to me, I said, knowing that whatever he said would be a lie, or at the very least a souped-up version of the truth. Goldblatt was an operator, and he knew that I knew he was an operator. But the truth is, I get a kick out of seeing him operate. It's a cheap, harmless form of entertainment. I got a bad knee. You saw me limp in here. You're full of shit. Maybe you'd take a few pounds off and those knees of yours wouldn't have to do so much work. Okay, I got a little problem with some people who live out there, so if I show my face, I might find myself in a little bit of trouble. That's almost believable. So you know what? I'm not even going to ask what kind of trouble, because I don't give a shit. What's in the package? That's confidential. Find someone else to be your errand boy, I said, as I pushed myself away from the table and stood up. Wait, what about dessert? I had to smile. There was no way to deal with Goldblatt other than to treat him as a joke. But he was a friend. The kind of friend you can't trust, but you know it, so you still make like he's a friend. The kind of friend who amuses you in an inexplicable, perverse way. The kind of friend you can use without feeling guilty because you know he'd do the same. I sat back down. You think you can stuff dessert into that big fat gut of yours after what you just ate? I left some room, he said, patting his stomach, which seemed to have expanded at least a couple of inches from when we walked into the joint. And you know, I'm kind of sensitive about my weight. Jesus, Goldblatt, you never cease to amaze me. Stick around, Swann. There's more where that came from. He couldn't make up his mind between the apple pie and the chocolate cake, so he ordered both. Me? I had nothing, trying to watch my weight, while Goldblatt increased his. The deal was simple, or so he said. The next night, I'd go out to Long Beach and meet someone on the boardwalk at precisely 9 p.m., in front of one of the little huts that during the summer months was where the kids issued beach passes. The person, he didn't know if it would be a he or she, would hand me a package. In return, I'd hand over an envelope, which he'd give me when I agreed to do the job. Then I'd hop back on the train and deliver it to him the next morning in his office, which with Goldblatt meant some cheap anonymous diner somewhere in the city. I can trust you not to open the package or the envelope, right? He said, as he dug into the last piece of apple pie, then pushed the plate away and started in on the enormous slab of chocolate layer cake. I don't like the sound of this, Goldblatt, I said, doing my best to look away from the Epicurean spectacle going on in front of me. What's not to like? You want me to go to the deserted boardwalk in the middle of the night, in the middle of winter, with no one else around, carrying God knows what, meeting God knows who, for God knows what reason? Well, if you put it that way, what the fuck other way is there to put it? And the kicker is, you're not even paying me for this. Do I look like a moron to you? You owe me, Swann. How do you figure? How many times have you asked me to dig up information for you? 3. His face fell. What are you, keeping count? I thought it was more. 3. And we're not exactly talking brain surgery here. I'm asking you for one favor, and then I'll call it even. I laughed. Because he was entertaining, and because he was persistent. Would it kill me to do a favor for him? No.